The age of industrialization. How did the concept of industrialization develop? What are the different stages that gave chance for the development? And how did the modernization occurred? And how did the people accept the change of the past to the modernization? But before going into the details of understanding industrialization, we would now look at the picture which was drawn by E.T. Paul around 1900 year, means the 20th century starting. In his magazine, a music album, the front page, he gave a title called The Dawn of New Century. In his title, The Dawn of New Century, we can see a lady. She is standing on the wheels which are having wings, and behind her we have the railway tracks, the modern big buildings, and all these things, the improvisation of the technology. So on this image, the artist Mr. E.T. Paul want to give the message that we are looking towards a modernization age for which the wings have started in this period, where she is representing the modernization from the past to the modernization. Most of the new inventions like machines, machine work has increased, and later we have the railway network getting increased, the modern large vessels, the modern big buildings, all these things, the international trade, international marketing, all these are being represented very clearly on the image of the dawn of new century. And you look at looking at the image 2. In the image 2, we have Alauddin's lamp, where it can showcase that building a beautiful palace which is symbolizing the past. The modern, the railway network has been shown, where the modern mechanical technology is giving a scope for the development of the large scale understandings of industries, factories, transportation, housing, cities. All these things are shown in the picture, while Alauddin was shown as a representative of the past, modernization has shown as a representative of the modern era of that time. So in this way, we have different shapes, different modules, different images showing this one. So actually, what is modernization, or how can we study the history of modernization? The history of modernization is the history of industrialization or modernization is nothing but it is the history of development. Or sometimes it would be called as the story of development. The history of development or the story of development. All these things can be understood very clearly. How did the industrialization happen? How did the modernization come? This all can be understood very clearly by understanding the story of development. Where is the story of development? Is it in the industries? No, it is in the story of development of machinery coming into the everyday life of a person, especially to the human beings. How did the machines got a special significant places in the human being's life? All these things can be understood only when we study and analyze how did the machinery enter into progression. How did the progress of the machines happen day by day. So all these things we can understand by step. So we need to break the story into parts and understand it very clearly. Then only we can get an idea of how did the age of industrialization come in Great Britain. Then it passed on to all the other parts of East as well as to the West. Now, generally we get used to the words like industrialization. Whenever we talk about the word industrialization, we generally associate industrialization word with the factorization. Whenever we talk about the industrial workers, we get the word like factory workers. Whenever we talk about the period of industrialization, we think or we are discussing about the concept of establishment of factories. But actually, many of the historians have expressed a view that factories were there far earlier, before the industrialization happened, which means like before the industrialization progress or the so-called modern period have started, before also we had the proto-industrial period, that is called proto-industrialization. Proto-industrial period, which means before to the industries we had the proto-industrialization, the period when the industrialization was not in full progress. Also we had many number of industries known as proto-industrial period. But do they exist in the same parameters and in the same system of management as it is in existence in today, either in the industries or in the factories? No, it was in a different style. How did the earlier factories, or how was the system developed, and what are the reasons for not developing in the cities and developing in the towns? That is, we have in the cities powerful trade guilds, trade unions. These unions are given special powers by the rulers to have monopoly over the particular business what they do. For example, if you talk about the cloth businessmen people, cloth business merchants do not have much scope and rights to do any business in the city, because the entire authority of monopoly is being given on the workers and on the union by the ruler to a particular group of people. So these people need to find out some other alternative to do their work done. So these people used to move to the nearby towns where there are no trade guilds, where there are no trade unions, and there is no concept of powerful issues getting involved in this work. So when merchant wants some employees, he would like to search them in the nearby towns of the city where he lives. So this made the merchants to find their ways to the towns. And let us look at the situations at the towns or at the villages. When we talk about the situations at the towns and nearby the villages, where the cultivation day by day is coming down, the poor peasants need to work like gathering of the firewood, berries, gathering of the berries, vegetables, and also hay. Like that, the original capability of the cultivation has come down because of the lack of wealth with the peasants, and also the unfavorable conditions like the lack of the rains in the proper time also made the cultivation to become a mere disaster or a failure. And also the tiny plots which are owned by the peasants cannot be cultivating so much what the family needs for them to run their entire business or the family incomes.